Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one. Guys, today, another little red day in the markets as a lot of our indexes did fall apart. We also had some negative news come out of China on Apple, which caused Apple to have one of its rare 4% drop days. And this market pretty much kind of tumbled down today after a hotter than expected ISM services report this morning that came out. Usually those reports, guys, are pretty much a non-factor, but the fact that the services report came out a bit hotter than expected resulted in the markets coming down only because of potential signs for continued inflation in the services index. If you remember my video on PCE inflation pretty much last week, I was saying how although goods inflation has been trending down, it is somewhat coming up in services as people now pivot from goods to services to make the most of their summer experiences in travel and restaurants and such like that. So that's pretty much all the thing that caused the market to drop here today, but we did recover somewhat here into the end of the day, bouncing off some of our support. So as usual, guys, we'll get into our major indexes and we will cover our major tech names here. No portfolio update today because there are no new trades. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it here. So SPY coming down 0.67%. What does it look like today? You can see on the heat map here, pretty much broad market here selling off. A few names here and there were green, especially in energy and some of the financials like our payment processors and whatnot. But on the most part, guys, you can see it was a pretty red market today. On the one-day relative performance, you will also see that most of our, actually all of our major indexes, guys, were pretty much trending lower on the day. The worst performers, for once, recently, have been technology here, all right? So with that in mind, guys, right, I'll say this once and I'll say it again. SPY is not going to be able to continue to go up if only QQQ is doing the work. This is a bit of the same problem that we were having back here in May, while QQQ was doing most of the work and the rest of our indexes were kind of lagging behind. We will need participation from financials and healthcare to start bringing SPY up in a significant fashion and continuing our uptrends here. So that is what I'll be looking for here in the next few days and weeks. Can we start getting some more participation from financials and healthcare notably? So SPY here on the day coming down right to our support level here. You can see previous resistance, right? And previous support once again comes and acts as it does here. So bouncing off our support line here, pretty much 444.50 was that support area, bouncing nicely off our moving averages as well. We were always looking for our daily higher low at this point, right? So we'll see if the bulls can keep it together here and potentially reverse and start putting in some green days on the week to potentially continue this daily uptrend here. So far, no red flags. The bears have taken back a little bit of this move in the last 3 days here, but nothing significant. If we do break this support tomorrow and start trending all the way down here, guys, then you could potentially set up for a daily downtrend, which would lead into potential weekly consolidation here. But we'll take this one day at a time. Bulls are still in control. I like the fact that we were able to reject off this support today. QQQ here. QQQ, same thing. You'll see this previous resistance line, right? Acting as support now. Has acted as support in the past or resistance as well. So good job by the bulls here of playing defense, recovering here in the end of the day, bouncing off our moving averages and bouncing off the support level. We were always looking for the daily higher low, and the bears have not taken back as much of the move as they have on SPY. So bulls on QQQ still looking very healthy, guys. Still looking for the daily higher low, anything above 359. Just looking for the daily higher low for daily bull continuation. Bulls still set up pretty nicely. Not any red flags, guys, until we really come down here. Then it's going to be tough for the bulls to V-shape this, okay? XLF financials. XLF really with some decent intraday recovery, guys. We were down a lot on XLF this morning, right? We were down almost 0.8% here and ending the day 0.06 negative here. So XLF, we were always looking for the daily higher low. And with a move like today, rejection off the lows here, it's very probable that we may have just got it, right? So we were looking for anything above 33.60 to be just a daily higher low for potential continuation to the bulls. I can tell you, if financial starts putting in some good days here and QQQ also stays relatively flat or slightly up, the SPY will be going up off of this, right? So XLF with some decent work here, rejecting off of our lows, need to see them start coming back up and challenging our 3480 area, right? Even on the weekly here, you can see that it is a weekly confirmed uptrend here. We do have the weekly higher low set in this green box of support, right? But I need the bulls to start putting in some work to the upside here. So pretty good day on financials, even though we did end negative. I will want to see them continue this potential daily uptrend formation after having all of this most recent downside, guys. So we're going to keep an eye on that in the next few days. XLV once again, guys, breaking down below here. So now we've broken down below a bit of our area of support. We're still kind of challenging here. Our last line of defense, this whole area is somewhat of a range, right? Between pretty much 133 and pretty much, I would say right here, 131.50. So we're trading right there, guys, 131.50, right? So don't want to see the bulls lose any more ground. It's been fairly negative 5 days in a row, guys, right? So these sell-offs have been pretty aggressive here, selling off over the past 5 days over 3.5% on healthcare. Healthcare usually doesn't move that much. The only reason it's been coming down is because last week, pretty much on Wednesday, Joe Biden was having a speech on how he was going to crack down on big pharma and their pretty much monopoly status. I deemed it to be a non-event because everybody knows that despite what the politicians and media may say up front, they do get lobbied for very heavily in their campaigns, and these big pharma companies have been doing this for the past 40, 50 years, whereby they are viewed as the evil in the market, right? But behind closed doors, guys, you guys know how these brown envelope deals work. They donate tons and tons and tons of money to these politicians' campaigns. So I wouldn't be surprised that even though there are more restrictions on pharmaceuticals potentially in the near future, it won't erode their profits that significantly here. So pharma, right? Healthcare here coming down now pretty much in a daily downtrend. Going to need to see the bulls at this point. They have a lot of work to do, guys. Need to start resetting, bouncing, and setting this daily uptrend. Line in the sand level for me, guys, remains put at our weekly higher low. 129 is going to be a very crucial area as we've lost this most recent tightening range here now, guys. We now zoom down to the 129 lows. Lose this, and you really start losing some of those longer term patterns. So I need to start to see the bulls play some defense here. We'll take it one day at a time. IWM Russell, another down day, but decent little recovery intraday. However, bouncing off pretty much our 200-day EMA here, right? So what are we looking for? We were always looking for the daily higher low for potential continuation. But now at this point, guys, the bears have taken back a decent amount of this move. In relation to the move up here, we've taken back, you can see we rejected here, but we were over 65, potentially 70% of this entire move up that we've taken back, guys. So it's going to be tough for the bulls to V-shape this without broad market participation, right? So still always looking for the daily higher lows here, still a bit of space here, but the bears have done a great job of taking some of that back, guys. If we, for some reason, come back and flush this low here, guys, we will confirm, unfortunately, a weekly downtrend. If you break the 181.85 area here, you'll be confirming a weekly downtrend here. And at that point, guys, we will just be looking for further monthly consolidation. Anything above 169 will just be for a monthly higher low. So longer term bulls are in control here, but still stuck in this massive 3-4 month range here. IWM need to see some more activity, and that's going to come, in my opinion, if financials can get back alive. Dow Jones also pulling back quite significantly here on the day, 0.57% to the downside here, now trading below our little support area here, 34,500. It is somewhat of a range. You could argue that this area is pretty malleable, right? So all the way down to pretty much 34,200-ish and to 34,600. So it is a bit of a range, but we are trading below it here, guys, right? So we are looking for the daily higher low. We're looking for the bulls to set up the new daily uptrend here. So this level is key. 34,000 is the line in the sand on the daily. On the weekly, we are also looking for that level to be maintained too. It's two things at once. If we do flush 34,000, it would be a weekly confirmed downtrend. At that point, you have to look higher. It would just be for monthly consolidation, guys. Anything pretty much above 32,700 will just be for a monthly higher low. So the long-term bulls still with some good success here and some good patterns. But on the short term, need to see these bulls set the daily uptrends just like SPY and QQQ did. None of our other indexes, financials, healthcare, Russell, or Dow Jones, none of them set the daily uptrends like SPY and QQQ. And that's why the markets are struggling here. Now let's move on to big tech. Not going to touch Bitcoin anymore unless it does something significant here. You can see that it's doing absolutely nothing. So let's move on to big tech right away. Now, Apple down almost 4% at one point today, guys. It was a pretty bad day off of some news that China had somewhat banned the use of their phones for government officials. Now, obviously, China does represent a very large market for Apple, so it's normal that the news hit pretty solid. But in my opinion, guys, a bit of an overreaction here on Apple. Very, very rare will you see an event hit Apple in the tune of 4%, right? Very rare indeed. Even after, this is the day after earnings, right? This was the earnings move, and then it went back to another 1-2% day. So you have to look very, very far back in the past, unless it's earnings, for a move to hit on Apple like this. I didn't see any of the news that was any of concern, guys, right? It was really just Chinese government officials weren't allowed to be using Apple phones. They had said really nothing about the general population, even though it did mention that it's in China's effort to crack down on foreign technology use, yada, yada, yada. But Apple has a really good presence in China to begin with here. In my opinion, just a bit of a technical pullback here as we had some algorithmic selling, right? So we were always looking, this is a daily uptrend. We were looking for the daily higher low here. Anything above 176 is just going to provide an opportunity for the bulls to come down, sit, and potentially continue this daily uptrend here. I don't want to see them pull back too much, guys, because then it could set up the opposite daily downtrend, which could then potentially lead into maybe some more weekly consolidation. So we'll take this one day at a time. We're going to give the bull some breathing opportunity here, but rejecting nicely here with our moving averages, kind of somewhat holding them up. We do have this current level of support, right? Previous resistance that is acting as support, guys. So we're going to let the Apple bulls deal with this news and absorb the news here. We'll see how the next few days of trading plays out, but I do want to see the Apple bulls continue on this daily uptrend, even though we may continue. If we do continue down for some reason, then they do have tons of space, guys, to potentially set this weekly higher low for a potential new weekly uptrend above 172. AMD pulling back ever so slightly on the day, but pretty much an inside candle in relation to yesterday's trading. Give me a second. So AMD pulling back ever so slightly. Yesterday's video, I'll remind you, I was saying that we were expecting eventually AMD to come down, consolidate, set the daily higher low for the daily trend change reversal. So AMD doing a bit of consolidation here at the high end of this move. I do still like how much control the bulls have put in against this most recent sell-off here. Very good, we're holding up the moving averages, and very good, we're holding this 107 area of support, this yellow line right here. So we're going to give the bull some time, going to give the bull some space, still haven't lost the lower time frames. This is still a 4-hour uptrend as well. So we're going to take this one day at a time, guys. I like AMD setup. If for whatever which reason we do pull back into the 107, 106 area, I will be targeting 105, 104 for some puts for the potential daily uptrend reversal. No real red flags on AMD currently as of yet. And on the weekly, you guys know what we're going for here. The bulls have to get as close as possible to this higher end of the range to potentially set up for a weekly trend change reversal, which would bring an end to your monthly consolidation. Right, so decent day on AMD, even though they were down about 1.5% here. Decently trading it within yesterday's candle. Amazon with a bit of a pullback here after being one of our stronger names here. So we were looking for the daily higher low. Anything above 130.76 was just for your daily higher low, getting kind of caught up in the moving average area and our little box of support currently. So Amazon bulls were able to play some defense in that area, still with a decent amount of room above this 130.6 area-ish, right? So we're going to let the bulls play it out here. Don't want to see them take back too much of this move. Could set up for the daily downtrend into maybe weekly consolidation. At that point, it would kind of turn out to be a weekly tightening range, but no real red flags on the weekly, guys, right? This is pretty much a weekly confirmed uptrend underway here. So we're going to give the bulls some space and some time to work it out on the lower time frames here. Bulls not looking too bad at all, guys, right? So just keep an eye on that over the next few days if Amazon bulls are able to come back and really crush this 140 mark and continue this daily uptrend towards our highs, or if we pull back too much, we can either get a tightening range at that point or a daily downtrend, which would send us into further weekly consolidation. But on the weekly, guys, we have so much support in this whole zone down here that I'm not too worried for Amazon personally. Now let's move on to Google. Google also with somewhat of a negative day here, down 1% here, up back a bit in the after hours, but Google did create a bunch of space on this bounce. So as all the other names, we were always looking for a daily pullback to set up the daily higher lows for potential daily trend change continuation. We're going to have a lot of difficulty for the bears to push through this most recent area here of resistance here. So we're going to be watching that closely. Have the 12 EMA down here. At this point, guys, anything above 128 is just for your daily higher low for potential bull continuation to the upside. On the weekly here, weekly looking very good on Google. It's obviously a weekly bull trend, right? Very obvious. So even if we do consolidate a bit further here on the daily, anything above 128, once again, is just going to be for weekly higher lows for potential continuation of the upside. No real red flags on Google. We're going to give the bulls some time and some space here to react from these levels and see if they can maintain these daily uptrends. Meta grinding so funny. Meta opened higher, ended negative, but still we did go higher than the previous days here. So daily uptrend on Meta, grinding higher ever so slightly. This is such a funny chart, guys. It's like they're kind of like, they're kind of doing it halfway. They're just like, guys, well, I guess we'll go up ever so slightly today, right? So Meta is really, really funny in this move, kind of like Microsoft, right? So Meta daily uptrend does continue here at this point. Whenever this move does top out, whenever we stop putting in a series of higher highs on the day here, we will be looking for a daily higher low. At this point, anything above 276.60 is just going to be that bulls creating a decent amount of space for that to work out. We are grinding above our moving averages, and we do have some decent support down here, this yellow line here, 288 level. So going to be looking for the bulls to play off of that. The weekly Meta bulls are still trying to grind away as much of this move as humanly possible. It is a very nice weekly uptrend for continuation. Remains to be seen if they can V-shape this in one shot, or if they may have to potentially two-shot this, right? So remains to be seen on that. Or worst case scenario, obviously, just as all our other sectors, do we set the weekly downtrends, right? That's also a possibility, but we're not going to talk about that as long as most of these names are still in daily uptrends. So taking this one day at a time, decent grind up by Meta, but I would really like to see them put in like a 2-3% day to really get this further to the upside here. Now, Microsoft, same thing as Meta, right? Just grinding higher ever so slightly here. So still pretty much above we did break above here our 233 level, but closed below once again here today. So daily uptrend is confirmed on Microsoft. They've created a decent amount of space, not too much, above 319. Just going to be looking if this does pull back for a daily higher low. Anything above 319 will do that here. So Microsoft kind of in the same position as Meta. We're just trying to take back as much of this weekly move as possible, as long as this stock is in a daily uptrend. So very, very good movement on Microsoft here. Not the best, but I'll take it here. Daily uptrend does continue to be maintained here. So, right, always a weekly uptrend. But will the bulls have to V-shape this in one shot? They can. Or will they have to potentially two-shot this, provided the markets stay together here? All that will depend on how long can we maintain these daily uptrends across all these names. NVIDIA here coming down a bit on the day, minus 3%, but in terms of the NVIDIA chart, even a 3% day doesn't even look like much when we're so high on these levels, right? So daily uptrend was confirmed. NVIDIA continues to consolidate in this tightening range. Same thing it did over here. Same thing that it did over here as well, right? So continues to consolidate at the highs here. We're going to look out for two levels key on NVIDIA. Not much information before one of these breaks. 450 or your all-time highs, 503. Until one of those breaks, it's going to be very difficult to see what NVIDIA is going to do here on the shorter time frames, right? On the weekly, they do have a lot of space. So if ever we do break that 450, well, we have a lot of space above our 404 to set the weekly higher lows for a potential next leg of continuation to the upside here. And obviously, if we break the all-time highs, well, your resistance is put pretty much at 550 psychological, 600, and levels like that, right? Very tough to know where NVIDIA can actually stop to the upside at this point. Crazy move so far, right? So we're going to keep an eye on those level guys. Not much more information we can do. It's really just trapped in one of these tightening ranges, 450 and 503. One of these tightening ranges at previous all-time highs. You see, every time this was an all-time high, kind of just hesitates. Sometimes it breaks it to the downside, recaptures. Sometimes it just breaks it to the upside right away. So we're going to keep a close eye on these two levels, 450 and 503. All right, and then Tesla. So Tesla, very decent move on Tesla here today, recovering a lot of the drop, guys. Tesla was down almost 4% on the morning. You can see top to bottom, this drop was pretty nasty here, 4.5%, and recovering all the way to minus 2% on the day here, guys. So very good move by Tesla here. Tesla really putting in a heck of a battle here between this 242 and 250 area, right? So we're going to keep an eye on this very closely, but the bulls are trying to hold on to this daily uptrend here. I need to see them crack 260 if they really want to push a higher leg on this daily uptrend here. But as of now, playing amazing defense on these moving averages, guys. Look at this. Amazing defense on the moving averages. No real red flags on Tesla here as of yet here. But if we do start flushing here down below here, we are still looking for consolidation, guys. Anything above 228 will still just be for consolidation, right? But need to see them start to do it, guys. The longer that we kind of play around in this area, guys, the more tired that the bulls could potentially get. The bears as well, but burden is on the bulls, guys, right? So you need to see these bulls as strong as possible. You need to see them recapture really on the 4 hour. This is a nice little tightening range, but I need to see them eventually pop and crack this 260 level to really give me confidence that the weekly Tesla bulls have put in enough space. They haven't quite put in enough space for me to say like, okay, most likely we're going to get a weekly higher low and continuation. They're kind of right in the middle here where they could trend back to our lows if we do start flushing again, or we can even two-step this, right? But I need to see a bit more movement, guys. I would love to see this stock pull in pretty much into the 260, 270 region to really give a 270 region here to really give us some confidence, guys, that they're in the process of reversing these weekly time frames as well. Because don't forget, Tesla did lose the weekly uptrend. Now it has to set a brand new one. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Palantir first. So now Palantir also playing somewhat level of defense here, up 0.6% on the day, but you don't even see it. Last 3 days on Palantir, guys, really no movement whatsoever. We're still trying to hold on to our 1395 area here. Bulls in a daily uptrend. We are looking for the higher low. Bulls are trying to set this. Need to see a break. As I was saying yesterday's video, 1640 going to be crucial. Need to see a break of this area here. Continue the daily uptrend. Why? Because I'm not satisfied with how much of this weekly move the bulls have taken back yet. Push me into the $16.75, $17 range. I'll be able to say, okay, nice. The bulls have created enough space that we could end up with a weekly trend reversal right here at this point, right? But if you kind of hesitate around here, guys, and we lose these daily uptrends here to the downside and start trending back lower, you know, most likely scenario at that point, guys, becomes a weekly downtrend continuation here to the downside for monthly consolidation. So I need to see the bulls in the next few days here put in some nice gains here and crack this 1640 level. PayPal with a negative day here, 1.5% here, guys, but we are still working with a decent amount of space. None of these candles seem that significant on PayPal, right? It doesn't really do much when it doesn't have earnings or news specific on it. You know, it's kind of a defensive stock at that point, right? But it doesn't even pay a dividend, so that's kind of sad. So, guys, what are we looking for? Anything above pretty much 60 to continue this daily uptrend here. So we do have a little bit of space to work with here, still roughly around $3 here. So we'll see if the bulls can actually pull it off and continue this daily uptrend. On the weekly, I need to see them pull up into the 65, 66 area. You see on this most recent move down, these moves are almost symmetrical. You see on this move right here, we pulled up all the way in the 65, 66 before consolidating sideways for 2 weeks. And then we pushed a bit higher. So that is really the level that I need to see them. I need to see them get up a bit higher here against this move to allow me to say that a weekly trend change is likely here. So we're going to keep an eye on PayPal. Daily uptrend is to the bulls. They do have a little bit of space to work with here, but I want to see them push into this area to start saying, okay, we may be due for some higher time frame changes as well. But for now, just taking it one day at a time here, guys, looking for the daily higher low, currently above our 12 EMA, anything above $60 just for potential daily higher low, and trend continuation here, guys, right? All the way up into this sweet spot here. So that's pretty much it for today's video, guys, right? Not much. It was a big red day, but really not much movement on some stocks, not much changes in the technical patterns. We've always been looking for the daily higher lows on a lot of these things, guys. I've been saying it since last week. As soon as this leg tops out, going to be looking for a daily higher low. That's why it was crucial for the bulls to put in as big of a move as possible to give them space to set the daily higher lows, guys. This is just how markets move every single time, right? Set the daily higher lows and then just grind higher, right? So keep all that in mind, guys. I hope you guys had a beautiful day in trading today. A bit of a shorter video today, guys. Hope you appreciate it. As always, if you liked the video, if you learned something, please consider giving it a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, I would love to answer them. Please leave a comment down below. Anything analysis, options, my thoughts on certain macro news, whatever you guys like, just ask me and I'll be happy to answer, guys. So take care. I'll see you guys after the close tomorrow. It's Will again. Peace.